Continuing our segments on extended care planning, we're joined by Kelly Graham and Christina Frey. We're talking about long-term care insurance. So first of all, let's assume somebody has long-term care insurance. They purchased it some time ago, and now it's time to think about using it. How do they qualify?
Yeah, great question. So once someone is eligible for a claim, there's a few things that need to occur. First, they need to meet their one-time elimination period, which is that waiting period or that deductible they agreed to when they first bought their contract. The next thing is they have to meet specific benefit triggers. The triggers is basically they need assistance with 2 out of their 6 activities of daily living, or they need to have some type of cognitive impairment that requires supervision.
A lot of people see those activities of daily living like bathing, dressing, toileting, and they think, well, mom's okay because mom just has dementia, so she's not going to qualify. But that's not true. You only need supervision to qualify in that case, in the case of dementia.
That is correct. It does not need to be hands-on care. It could just be supervisory care.
Especially if they're a danger to themselves or someone in the home.
And we see that all the time because we have a code on our charting that says constant safety monitoring.
Yes.
And we find that that's very acceptable for carriers when it comes to somebody with even mild cognitive impairment. Okay, so they have a triggering event, they need help with 2 ADLs, or they have mild cognitive impairment. What's the next step they should take?
So the next step they should take is to call their insurance carrier where they have the policy. There's an 800 number usually, and then they're assigned a representative. And that representative will determine with them the process of filing the claim. And then once they've filed a claim, they then have a care coordinator that helps them with the process from beginning to end.
We find that a lot of people with long-term care insurance, especially when it's, let's say, the parents who bought it, it's the parent who needs help, or it's the parent who's now confused. And the kids come in and they call us and they absolutely don't know what to do. They don't understand the policy. They don't know how to trigger the coverage. What should those kids do?
One of the best benefits, I think, of a long-term care policy is that added assistance. They can also use private companies such as yourself to help them. And you are much more knowledgeable than they are, and you know the facilities and the assistance in their area.
And it's important to get it right, correct? You were telling me something about why claims are denied.
Yeah. So one of the main reasons we see a claim denied is the claim forms are filled out incorrectly. And often one of the best features built into a long-term care policy that most folks forget about come claim time is care coordination. This is a benefit that allows them to have a local person in their community that will help them, almost like their personal care advocate, to fill out claim forms, help them put a plan of care together, find that home health care agency that's going to be a good fit for their care needs, or potentially help them transition to a facility if that time has come.
And you are both long-term care pros. At-home nursing care, we call ourselves long-term care experts as well because we've helped dozens of families open claims successfully and then bill claims successfully, because when you have that traditional long-term care policy in place, they don't just send you a check. You need to prove that the care is being provided.
In most cases,
right, and so we make sure that we're very good at that. What about the elimination periods? Because in our agency, we've seen everything from 2 weeks, which is not very long, all the way up to 180 days.
Yeah, so the elimination period, depending on the carrier you're taking your plan out with, can be anywhere from a 0, 30, 60, 90, 180, and we even have some carriers that have a 365-day elimination period. And it's also important that whatever waiting period you do end up picking, that you pay attention to whether or not it's going to be a service day elimination period or a calendar day elimination period.
Meaning that if it's a calendar day, then you might have care once a week for 7 days, and that'll count towards 7 days, correct?
That's correct. Depending on the carrier, it could be 1 day of care gives you 7 days credit. Other carriers could be 1 day of care gives you 3 days credit. Then we even have some carriers that you can just file your claim paperwork, you're eligible, you don't have to have any days, but on that 91st calendar day, your benefits kick in.
So be aware of what your policy is, or your parents' policy. It might be something your parents had purchased 20 years ago. Right. I often find too that kids, the children will come to us with policies that say mom has $180 of care a day, for example, but it's the original policy and it was 25 years ago they purchased it. And I always say, well, we need to call the carrier, because if you had an inflation rider it might be $360 a day. So talk about that a little bit.
Care, even from a couple of years ago, hourly care, daily care, weekly care, we've seen it increase. So when you have an inflation rider, the benefits grow with those riders. So you can get a 3%, a 5%, and again, you design the plan that meets your needs. So it's important for those people purchasing plans, pay attention to these things because it can matter later down the road. And also some people, maybe they don't need such a robust policy, but they plan to fund part of it themselves. These are also things to consider and have those discussions with family.
And we've certainly seen that. We have some policies purchased a long time ago where it pays 100% of their 24-hour care. That's much more rare. We have a lot more families where perhaps it pays half the care, but it takes the burden off the family. They don't worry so much about running out of money because that's what we run into. Care is expensive and it's only increasing, and so we want to take the burden off families if we can. It's always a relief when people have long-term care insurance. That works out very well for them. What about the length of service? What do you find in terms of how long people are on service with long-term care?
The statistics are out, and as we know, people are living longer. So with that being said, when someone goes into claim, men typically are in claim for about 3.2 years and women about 3.8. So we recommend maybe a 4-year for women and a 3-year for men. That's or more.
Oftentimes people too wait a long time. Just like people wait too long often to access hospice services, we find with their long-term care insurance, they're so afraid to access it, even though they have a need and would meet the criteria.
And go retroactive, Christina.
Right. Yeah. It's important that if someone has some type of event, where even if they don't feel like they need care at that very moment, that they get their claim going, because they'll start just chipping away at that elimination period. And if they don't need the help after all, that's okay. They can close the claim out and always reopen it later. And any of the days that they maybe would have qualified towards that elimination period would have counted down. And so down the road, if they open that claim again, now that elimination period is going to be much shorter because it is a one and done waiting period.
Well, this has been wonderful information. We really appreciate your expertise in this area. As a home care agency owner, I see it daily, so I know how important it is to get the right information out there. At the end of this video, we will have more information on how to contact Kelly or Christina or At Home Nursing Care. Thanks for watching.